I love a proverb that says, even in laughter, the heart may sorrow. That shows us how our outward expressions don't have to be consistent with inward realities. So if I don't want to work hard, I can still work hard. If I'm sorrowful, I can still act happy. And get this, when you act in ways inconsistent with reality for long enough, that then becomes your reality. So even when I'm sorrowful, if I choose to act happy, I then become more happy. Why? Because inconsistent responses produces consistent results. What does that mean? That means when you consistently respond in ways inconsistent with your feelings, you'll get consistent results. Because your results are not the product of your feelings, they're the product of your actions. More consistent actions, guess what? More consistent results. So why aren't people consistent? One answer is they are feelings based. So, what should we do with this information? Well, one thing we can do is filter our thoughts through that perception. See, a perception is what you notice and how you choose to respond to it. So, now that you're aware that your results are based upon your actions and not your feelings, your perception is what you're going to respond, what you're going to do with that. And what you need to do is filter your thoughts. See, you don't have to take into account how you feel towards what you need to do. I don't feel like making a video. I don't feel like studying. I don't feel like doing this. And people act according to their feelings. But when you act according to what you will to do, what you need to do, you get the results from your actions that your feelings can produce on their own. See, if I don't want to study and I choose to study, over time I become the person who wants to study because that's what I'm consistently living out. I have become more. And that's where people fail. They don't have a mindset shift. So they're stuck in past identities. And you never consistently get a result that's inconsistent to the identity you have developed. If you're someone who doesn't work hard, you're not going to get the results of a hardworking person. And that's where people fail. See, they get upset that other people are getting results when they're not willing to put in the work it takes to get that result. That was me for a time. See, I was like, man, I want a girlfriend, but I never talked to any girls. That's covetousness. Other people are like, man, hey, I want to write a book like you, Austin. Okay, well, you got to put in the work to write it. They say no, and then guess what? They cheat the system. They say, hey, I'm just tell AI to write this, or hey, I'm just gonna plagiarize someone else's stuff. See, some people are too hasty for results. They want an outcome, but they haven't become the person who can sustain that level of success. So even if they get the outcome, they suddenly fail. Think about people win the lottery. They win the lottery, get all this money. They get generational money and lose it within 5 years. Why? Because they haven't become the person who can sustain that type of money. In the same way, when we're so quick to get some type of result, so quick to become successful when we haven't earned it, it's not going to last as long as it could. And that's a choice that I have to make. So I finished writing my second book. My first one's over there. This one that I just finished is about metacognition, how to control your thoughts and then use your thoughts to become more influential in other people. And I believe this book will help people. The thing is, even though I finished it, it may not be ready to publish. I could publish it right now and get a good outcome from it, but it wouldn't be the outcome I get if I publish it maybe a few months from now. Because that little bit of work, it makes it just a tiny bit better, but it gets exponential more results in the future. Because the difference between a 9 out of 10 book and a 10 out of 10 book is like 10 times the work, and but it gets you 100 times the results. So I'm questioning myself, saying, "Yo, is this going to be worth it? Is it worth waiting months to finish the book that I could publish in 2 weeks?" That's a choice I have to make. But using the same frame, if I haven't become the person who can sustain that type of success, maybe it's better to wait. But I'm also aware that the same thing that happened in my last book could also happen to my next one. See, that book took like 10 months to write, and the editing process took about 5 months. So it's 15 or 16 months after I started writing it was when it was published. That's a long time. And that was December. Now looking back on it May, I'm like, man, that's not my best book. I could do much better. Why? Because I just know more. I've greater awareness. I've greater skill. I could write a much better book. And it's gonna be the same thing that happens in my next book. In my next book, after I publish it a year later, even it takes me like a year to publish it from now. A year later, I'm gonna be like, man, I could have done better. What is that? That's the pain of potential. See, I love what Leonardo da Vinci said allegedly on his deathbed. He said, I've offended God and mankind because my work did not reach the quality it should have. That Leonardo da Vinci, he's one of the greatest artists of all time. But he's still describing the guilt, the pain that comes from not reaching your potential. See, potential is like a gap. It's the difference between the person I could become and the person I am right now. That gap, that gap can cause self-imposed pain. So how can we escape this gap? How can we not have the gap of potential? You do this. You work with your might in whatever your hand finds to do. You put all you can into it. See, that book, I finished it, yes, 15 months, 16 months from when I started it. However, I gotta be honest, I didn't put my all into it. Because of that, I now feel the pain of potential. I don't care about how many book sales. It's not about the outcome. It's not about the book sales or who likes the book, who doesn't like the book. That's not in my control. What's in my control is the inputs I put in. What's in my control is the work I do towards getting the outcome I want. That's in my control. So when I don't do that the best I possibly could, that is the pain that comes from potential. Why don't we do that? Why don't we actually put forth effort into what we want to do? See, the Bible tells us in Ecclesiastes 9:10, it says, whatever your hand finds to do it with your might. But why don't we do this? The answer is because of our feelings. We are feelings based. I didn't always feel like working that book. I didn't always feel like when I was working to work as hard as I could. So guess what? Now, after I got the outcome I wanted to get, I feel self-imposed pain because I know it's not my best. So it doesn't matter how many sales. Again, I gotta have 1 million copies sold. I would still know in my heart, man, that's not my best work. So what do we need to do? We need to reframe why we're working. See, if we're working for ourselves, like I was, I could get the outcome I want and say, man, I finished a book and tell other people, man, I finished a book. I can have pride, I can have a sense of success, and I can make some money. Or I could work for the glory of God. And when I work for Him, I'm seeking to please Him, not myself. So I'm not going to care about the outcome. I'm going to care, hey, I'm going to do this for His glory. And the thing is, you don't have to be a missionary. You don't have to be a pastor, a preacher. You don't have to do some type of, religious stuff to be able to bring glory to God through your work. No, God gets glory from you not cheating your test. He gets glory from you just simply working with your might because that's obedience to Him. So that is what I have to work on. That's what we all have to work on. Instead of being feelings based and working just for the outcome, choose to work for the sake of inputs. Because guess what? When you work for inputs, you become the better person. Because if I work for the outcomes, I may get success, but it won't last or it won't be as good as it could be. I'm going to feel pain of potential. But when I become the person, the success, the potential, everything's going to come with it. But now I'm working for the glory of God more so. Assuming my intentions are right and every other thing. I'm working more for His glory instead of mine.